Who do you want to become? A seemingly simple question that can haunt a person for a lifetime. In the book Your Next 5 Moves, the author once wrote, "To calculate your next 5 moves, you must first know who you are, what game you are playing, and how you truly want it to end." These words are brief, but act like a needle piercing directly through the layers we often avoid. Because we are often preoccupied with superficialities like money, work, and immediate goals. Rarely do we stop to ask where all of this is ultimately leading us. This book does not promise miracle formulas or secrets to success in 10 days. Instead, it is like a grand chessboard where every move is the result of self-awareness, strategic thinking, and the courage to face unpredictable situations. What sets this book apart is how it bridges the gap between personal identity and business strategy. You cannot lead a company far if you do not understand who you want to become from the outset. The narrative is driven not by abstract theory, but through raw, real-world experiences, a childhood amidst war, years of failure at a gym, the bitterness of betrayal, and the journey of building an organization from scratch. All these fragments form the foundation for the 5 moves the book seeks to share. It is an intersection of scars and philosophy, of costly tuition lessons and concepts that seem simple yet take a lifetime to truly master. So, the provocative question is, in your own chess game, who are you playing against? Is your real opponent someone else, or is it the ambiguity within your own soul? If tomorrow you were forced to write down your next 5 moves, would you know what they are? This book forces us to be honest about our existence, our problem-solving methods, our leadership potential, our ability to scale without self-destructing, and finally, how to wield power without letting it consume us. It is not an easy read because every page acts as a reflecting mirror, but for that reason, it is essential. You will encounter many paradoxes. Sometimes you must stop to move forward, hold back to gain power, and let go of the ego to grow. These paradoxes indicate that life does not operate by linear formulas. The chessboard is always more complex than we imagine, and only those ready to acknowledge that complexity can stay 5 moves ahead. The question, who do you want to become, is often avoided or dismissed with vague dreams. But in the context of a life full of upheavals, it becomes the key to everything. Everything starts from a collision with limits. An 8-year-old child living amidst the sirens of the Iran-Iraq War, huddling in a shelter, only hoping the bombs would fall elsewhere. That memory is imprinted like a scar. Fear did not just consume his childhood. It planted the awareness that survival depends on timely, strategic decisions. From a refugee camp in Germany to setting foot in America, the path was never clear. A child speaking broken English, lost amidst mocking gazes, never believed he could go far. Youth passed in insecurity and aimlessness. At 18, the military seemed like the only escape. Then, entering the world of sales in his 20s, he faced harsh collisions that revealed a bitter truth. Fairness does not exist. When a promised promotion was broken due to seniority rather than merit, a spark ignited. One cannot let others dictate their fate. A clear list was formed. Work only with people who keep their word, promote based on results, build a like-minded team, and master strategy to avoid suppression. Failure became a catalyst to look within. No one escapes the gaze of doubt, but the great learned to turn that poison into fuel. Elon Musk, Barbara Corcoran, and Michael Jordan all turned the pain of rejection and betrayal into a smoldering fire. Humiliation, when transformed, is a more durable engine than any word of encouragement. This birthed the concept of future truth, living in the present, as if your future success is already an inevitable reality. To anchor this future, one needs symbols. In the author's office, the dead mentor's painting featuring figures from Lincoln to Tupac serves as a silent advisory counsel. It forces one to ask, is my behavior worthy of their legacy? Identity is not accidental. It is intentionally constructed by choosing what we surround ourselves with and what we believe in. Absolutely, understanding oneself also requires a specific choice of path. Not everyone is meant to be the number one. Some shine as entrepreneurs, those with an entrepreneurial spirit working within an organization. The core issue is not the title, but the role that matches your identity, whether driven by advancement, creativity, independence, or a grand meaning. You must be honest about your motivations. Parallel to this, you must define your non-negotiables, the principles you will never trade for profit or power. This is your moral compass. The first move is now clear. Know who you want to become and where your boundaries lie. The more honest you are with yourself, the easier it is to calculate the moves ahead. Sit down and write your answer not for the world, but for the person in the mirror. When you do, every subsequent move will have a firm, unshakable root. The journey of calculating 5 moves begins with a point that seems simple yet remains the most daunting, answering the question of who you want to become. When the answer is clear, the entire chessboard of life opens up. People often assume the greatest danger in business is a lack of capital or opportunity. In reality, the silent killer of most careers is the habit of avoiding problems. A small problem ignored swells like a hairline crack in a dam. It expands silently every day until the wall collapses and the damage becomes irreversible. Experience shows a simple rule: those who dare to face problems early survive. Those who delay are swept away. In the military, a delay of even a few seconds can cost a life. In sales, ignoring negative feedback turns an opportunity into a disaster. In personal relationships, silence in the face of small, accumulated conflicts leads to mended rifts. In a meeting, when everyone discusses sales while someone sits silently, pretending not to see the organizational flaws, that silence is not out of ignorance. It is a fear of lighting the fuse. But the problem does not disappear. It is like a corpse hidden under the floorboards. The stench will sooner or later rise, rendering the entire house uninhabitable. Handling problems is not a choice, but a foundational discipline. By mastering this habit, you already leave the majority far behind. However, problem solving is not just an immediate reaction. It requires a system. Most people act based on emotion. Anger leads to rashness. Fear leads to hesitation. And greed leads to reckless rushing. Emotion only allows us to see the shadow of a problem rather than its true shape. To go far, one must have a clear method to dissect, arrange, and decide. Consider a company facing a decline in sales where leadership panicked, proposing cost-cutting and layoffs. These seem reasonable, but ignore the root cause. Only when someone calmly asked about the customer experience did they find the variable $X, a paralyzed customer care system. Without the discipline to find the root, the company would have continued bleeding out through superficial fixes until it died. Ultimately, solving for $X is a survival skill. Without it, every subsequent move is blurred. This is the essence of the second move: training a brain that asks the right questions, eyes that do not avoid the truth, and hands ready to handle the mess. Most of us only circle around symptoms, like taking fever reducers for an internal infection. The fever always returns once the medicine is gone. In business, many cut staff to save profits without realizing the root cause is an obsolete product. You must solve for $X. Imagine every problem as an equation with a hidden variable. If you solve randomly, you will wander in meaningless answers forever. When a tech company faced high turnover, they blamed the impatient younger generation. But deep research revealed the true $X, a stifling, control-heavy management culture. Fixing the culture, not the salary, was the answer. The human brain is often dominated by 3 enemies: laziness, fear, and greed. Laziness accepts simple solutions, fear avoids digging deep, and greed rushes for immediate benefits. These are the breeding grounds for failure. To overcome them, you must combine science and art. Science lies in a structured method balancing capital, time, and benefits. Art is the intuition sharpened through 1,000 failures. A veteran chess player does not just look at the piece that moved. They look at the empty space it left behind. In moments of tension, the real winner is the one who identifies the variable $X. This capacity must be practiced like a muscle, or it will atrophy. It forces us to look in the mirror, which may be unpleasant, but it is the only way the chessboard opens up. Every path leads to a decision point. The word decision comes from the Latin decidere, which literally means to cut off. When you choose one path, you must decisively cut away all others. Many people think they have decided, but they are actually suspended, keeping backup paths that lead nowhere. The paradox is that the harder the decision, the higher the price of delay. Keeping too many doors open is what gets people stuck. The person who dares to cut off releases all their energy to commit to a single path. No one becomes a master of decision-making overnight. It comes from the practice of accepting that some decisions will be wrong. But being wrong is better than standing still. A mistake provides data. Standing still only breeds passivity. The goal is not absolute correctness, but a process that allows for rapid learning. The investment, time, energy formula is your tool to minimize ambiguity. By viewing every choice through these 3 lenses: capital invested, time lost, and benefits gained, you clarify the problem and force systematic thinking. However, the formula is only the first step. To truly embody this capacity, two specific actions are required. First, take 100% responsibility for every problem. This means if a project fails, do not blame the market, employees, or competitors. Look directly at yourself as both the source of the problem and the only person capable of solving it. Apply the I process to every decision, review every move, and distill lessons from mistakes to calculate your next step. Second, do not keep the method to yourself. Share the solve for $X mindset with the entire team. Bring them into workshops to apply it together to specific challenges. Only when everyone is focused on the same target $X does the organization act in sync. Otherwise, each person will solve a different equation, and the result will be nothing but chaos. By practicing these two actions, you will witness a profound change. Problems are no longer threats, but raw materials for progress. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to train your rational muscles and upgrade your decision-making system. In this way, the second move reveals the entire chessboard. Once you possess the discipline to handle problems and a robust decision-making system, you are no longer lost. Every subsequent step from building a team to scaling and mastering power games is built on this solid foundation. People often admire the myth of the lone individual building an empire through sheer will. The truth, however, is far different. In the early years, the author juggled every role: selling, training, accounting, and even delivery. This illusion of control initially brought excitement, but it eventually led to exhaustion and narrowed vision. No one could steer the ship, pass the sails, and navigate all at once. A single gale can send such a structure toppling. This leads to a necessary realization: if you want to go far, you must have teammates. These are not just companions for show, but the right people, aligned in purpose and committed to the long-term journey. When selecting them, look beyond degrees. Dig deeper into what they truly desire, whether it is recognition, self-worth, or stability. When you ask the right questions, their voices ignite with passion, revealing the fire within. That is the real data for collaboration. When the team is formed, the challenge shifts. You must learn to delegate, let go of micromanagement, and take responsibility for mistakes you didn't directly cause. This is how collective strength is released. A team is a test of humility, admitting you cannot do everything. Like a chess game, no piece can checkmate alone. It requires the coordinated efforts of pawns, knights, rooks, and the queen. But how do you keep them long-term? Salary and promotions are merely the facade. The true foundation is culture, something invisible, but stronger than any contract. An organization without culture is a house built on sand. Culture must be forged from clear principles. What is accepted and what is not? When principles are respected, everyone shares a common language. Inconsistent companies fail because of internal fragmentation and personal agendas. Consistency creates a sanctuary of safety and self-respect. Culture is the mirror reflecting the leader. If you bend principles for short-term gain, everything becomes negotiable. If you uphold them at a high cost, the organization learns that some things are more important than profit. Ultimately, trust is what makes the engine purr. There's a rule: trust equals speed. In an urgent project, a knot of trust is enough to move mountains. Without it, you are trapped in a labyrinth of contracts, supervision, and suspicion. Suspicion is the greatest barrier to success. It sends speed into a free fall while hidden costs spiral. Building trust starts with the smallest actions: keeping promises, being punctual, and fulfilling duties when no one is watching. There are moments when trust is proven through sacrifice, when a decision requires giving up personal gain to protect the team. This creates a collective memory more powerful than 1,000 speeches. It transforms a professional relationship into a spiritual commitment. Over time, speed increases as hesitation vanishes. With trust, a team becomes a living organism, reacting in sync and transmitting signals instantly. Looking back from escaping the lone wolf myth to shaping a culture of trust, it is clear why building the right team is the third move. Without it, strategic plans are just ink on paper. With it, the leader can finally raise their head to look at the horizon, calculating many steps ahead while a reliable collective handles the rest. Scaling sounds deceptively simple. If you sell 10 products, sell 100, then 1,000, then 1,000,000. Yet, reality tells a different story. Many remain trapped in linear growth their entire lives, taking small steps because they fear breaking the cycle to achieve exponential growth. When operations smooth out and profits stabilize, the greatest temptation is to repeat the existing model. But if you cling to the old path, market speed will eventually leave you behind. Only those who scale with cold calculation can maintain their dominance. Scaling is not merely adding headcount, capital, or products. It is about making the most agonizing decisions. Should you leverage debt to expand? Should you raise venture capital and dilute control, or bootstrap to retain full equity? Every choice is a double-edged sword. Debt can crush you if cash flow stalls. Raising capital introduces powerful voices that may overwhelm your own. Bootstrapping ensures independence, but risks missing window of opportunity moments. The author struggled with these paths for hours. A past of poverty bred a fear of debt. An independent spirit resisted sharing power. Yet, reason dictated that without fuel, the ship could not accelerate. He learned that no decision is perfect, only the one most aligned with your vision and risk tolerance. To scale with discipline, you must enforce high standards and hold every stakeholder accountable. Strictness is not cruelty. It is the antidote that prevents organizational decay during rapid expansion. This is where time compression becomes vital. Instead of waiting for organic growth, you must leverage opportunities to outpace competitors. A contract signed 6 months early can redefine a company's trajectory for years. But speed requires rhythm. Like a jockey, you don't always use the whip. You wait for the right stretch to break away. The paradox remains: the faster the growth, the higher the stakes. Without discipline, structures collapse faster than they were built. When an organization accelerates, a phenomenon emerges: growth momentum. It is a snowball effect. The more it rolls, the larger and faster it becomes. Morale peaks, and a sense of invincibility creeps in. This is the moment of maximum danger. If controlled, momentum carries you beyond your strength. If unchecked, it blinds your judgment. Success often breeds a perilous complacency. The author recalled days of doubled revenue and packed events. While others cheered, a voice in his head asked, "Can we handle the chaos yet?" Chaos is the inevitable shadow of expansion. Management systems reveal holes, customer service becomes overwhelmed, and egos inflate, leading to internal friction. Chaos isn't failure. It's a consequence. Preparation means building communication frameworks and audit systems before the storm hits. The ego is the ultimate saboteur during these periods. Leaders often mistake luck for competence. When the ego inflates, the ability to listen withers. To stay steady, you must practice the discipline of self-control. When winning, scrutinize the data. When the crowd cheers, ask what could ruin you tomorrow. Scaling requires an accurate data system, a Moneyball approach for business. Intuition is vital, but it cannot replace a system at scale. You must identify survival metrics, retention rates, life cycle value, and acquisition costs. Track them daily. Systematize knowledge into processes to escape dependency on any single individual. Hire disciplined, reliable operators over flashy stars to keep the machinery running. History shows that business lifespans are shrinking. Complacency is a death sentence. To survive, you must constantly adopt the opponent's perspective. If they wanted to defeat us, where would they strike? Facing these uncomfortable truths, a weak product or a compromised key player is the only way to fortify your position. A commander, like a grandmaster, calculates counterattacks even while dominating the board. This concludes the fourth move. Scaling is about knowing when to accelerate and when to hold back. It's not just about revenue, but about erecting a fortress so robust that no one can easily take you down. Only then are you ready for the final power moves. The David versus Goliath strategy. Facing a Goliath, a market leader, or a powerful rival is never easy. They possess the brand, the capital, and the trust of the establishment. You are the underdog. Few believe in you. Yet, the bold choose to charge. They understand that Goliath is often slow, complacent, and rigid. David is agile, creative, and dares to play by his own rules, turning the giant's size into its greatest vulnerability. Entering this battle means embracing fear, pressure, and ridicule. Others will view you as delusional for daring to stand tall against a massive opponent. You must prepare more than just a strategy. You need the resilience to withstand being underestimated. To prevail, you must be ready to work 10 times harder than you ever thought possible. The weapons of the underdog in these arenas. The following strategies are your essential arsenal. Specialization: choose a spearhead sharp enough to pierce the opponent's sole weakness. Act as an equal. Stand tall. If you do not believe in your future greatness, no one else will. Keep a low profile. Sometimes you must stay hidden to avoid being crushed prematurely. Waiting until you are strong enough to emerge. Speed and agility. while a giant takes months to decide. You can pivot in days, alliances, connect with those fighting the same Goliath. Every giant has enemies. Alliances turn a lone wolf into a vast network. Mystery, never reveal your entire plan. Mystery is the armor that protects you from early counter-strikes, even with a flawless strategy. You cannot ignore the narrative. If you do not tell your story, Goliath will tell it for you. They will define you as weak and incapable. In the digital age, storytelling is the ultimate equalizer. You cannot buy the truth, but you can shape how it is perceived. Fighting Goliath is a battle of consciousness and words. In high-stakes environments, every mistake can be fatal. The comfort zone is a myth. This is the crucible that hones the vital skills of sales, negotiation, and influence. Here, sales is not just an exchange. It is selling a dream or reason to believe. Leadership in these environments isn't about salaries. It's about persuading others to bet on the future you promise. Negotiation isn't a polite boardroom discussion. It is a high-tension encounter where every gesture matters. You must learn to read your counterpart through their silences and posture. Influence, meanwhile, isn't about commands. It's about creating an aura that inspires voluntary obedience. Many join a vision not because of a contract, but because they believe in the destination. True power is not found in bravado, but in the ability to remain unshakable amidst chaos. Sustainable power comes from within, emotional discipline, and control of the ego. The ego is a leader's greatest saboteur. It causes us to react rather than analyze. It personalizes every blow, leading to decisions fueled by emotion rather than data. The author learned to step back when attacked, asking, "Am I being led by emotion?" This composure distinguishes those who win a battle from those who win the war. Personal power is forged in failure. Every wound becomes a tougher layer of skin. Being battle-tested means you have endured crises that would break others, making you immune to panic and indecision. A long-term commander remains perpetually vigilant. When things are favorable, they look inward for weaknesses. They imagine their own defeat to ensure their survival. Power is the triad of controlling the ego, becoming battle-tested through crises, maintaining long-term vigilance. The entire chessboard is now clear from self-discovery and rational capacity to team building. Discipline, scaling, and power moves. Each step builds on the last. Only when all 5 moves are mastered can you enter the final battle with absolute confidence. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. Your next 5 moves is more than a toolkit. It is a mirror reflecting where we are, who we want to become, and how far we dare to go. If you have stayed until the end, I invite you to share your thoughts. Tell me what resonated with you, or where you disagree. Sincere feedback is often more valuable than applause. I also invite you to suggest the next book for this storytelling format, be it a biography, a business classic, or a hidden gem. Your suggestions will shape our next path. The ultimate lesson, power lies in the courage to look one step further, before others even realize the game has started. Honesty with oneself, discipline in action, and the courage to uphold your identity are non-negotiable. Thank you for listening. See you in the next book.